Hi, it's Sam here, and this is my latest video for Letraset. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on some hair. I'm not going to go into masses of details, but I'm going to give the colours that I use for when I'm doing a redhead, and just show you the flicking technique that I use to get the hair, and perhaps where you should be looking to put shadows. So I hope you find it useful. If there's anything in particular you want to know, whether it be about colouring hair or colouring something else, just leave a message below this video or leave a message on Letraset's blog or YouTube page or on my own blog, details of which you can find in the note bit below. Anyway, to get started, so the colours I use for my red hair is burnt orange, amber and oatmeal, and after I've laid them colours down I will use a very light hint of walnut. The image I'm going to be doing the hair on today, giving red hair, is Elegant Emma, and it's a visible image stamp. Now the only thing that's a bit different with this to necessarily what I would normally do is she is embossed, which for those of you that may not know, embossing is basically where you, once you've stamped an image, you put some powder over it and you heat emboss it, and it goes sort of shiny and creates a layer. In some cases this can be great for colouring, because what it does is creates a little barrier, so your pens are less likely to bleed across. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it gives it a nice shine and it almost lifts the colours and helps them pop more. However, the downside is the alcohol in the pens can slightly start to dissolve the plastic embossing powder that makes up the lines, which can sometimes create sort of funny results. And if you get the embossing powder anywhere, like if you've got a spot there, if you get the embossing powder somewhere where you want to be able to colour, you can't colour over it because there's basically a little bit of plastic there. So first of all, let me zoom in so you can see Emma's hair closer. Okay, so my first colour that I'm going to lay down is going to be burnt orange. Again, I always have my scribble paper to the side of me, and I always just scribble a bit to check the colour's coming out alright and it's not going to blob. So the first thing you do with the dark, because as most of you know I go dark to light, is I'm going to fill in any areas where I think there would be shade. Now, if it's a massive area you're colouring, I wouldn't do all the strands at once. I would just do odd areas, and although this isn't a massive area, because I do like my ink to move quite a bit when I'm colouring, I'm just picking out all the smaller areas at the moment. Just picking out all the smaller areas at the moment, and then I'll go back over the others afterwards. And then my next colour I take will be orange. And now I'm basically going to go back over where I just did. Now with the orange, I'm not using the orange really to add any shade or darkness or anything of any sort. I am just purely using the orange to add a bit of orange to the red hair, a bit of that fiery sort of colour. So because of that, where normally with my next colour that I'd lay down, I would normally go past the line that I'm at. So if the line's there, I'd come to there. But because I'm just laying it down for the colour itself, not for the shading, I don't. I just literally go over exactly to the point of where I just have it. Doesn't matter if you go over or under a little bit, but basically I go to the point where it is. Why don't I just use just the orange then in that case? Because just the orange on its own is very bright and very orange. But the orange over the burnt orange basically makes it more fiery but dulls it down a bit. So then the next colour's quite a jump, and that's amber. And again, this time you're just extending past where your last one went. Now I've left this a little bit long while I've been talking in between, but basically sorry about this, my nibs dried up. Okay, I've let the ink dry up a little bit where I've been doing this. However, what you basically are doing again is like normal, where you go over the colour you've just done and add a bit more in. But you're not just adding it in. Where I've left it a bit longer it's harder, but you're not just adding it in, you're also just blending out the end bit, so it's not as harsh. So you basically going over the colour you've done, going past it, but also blending the ends out. So basically, say this is a colour you've done. If you took your lighter colour and it's gone from there to there, you'd go from there to just past it to there. So there, like that. But what you're trying to do when you're doing the actual hair is you're trying to pull the end bit out. So you see that end there, instead of just going like that past it, and you can still see that end clearly, you're just running it over a couple of times so that it takes the end of the orange colour away, so the colours do become one. The end's still darker, but the colours do become one. Okay, so you put that over, and then last thing to do is go in with the oatmeal. And with the oatmeal, you are just literally touching it so lightly all over the colour of the hair. So that's it. I'm just going to basically go over it and keep going. So anywhere where I think there's a shadow, put shadow in. So where this hair's coming over, there'd probably be a bit of shadow under it. Here where the hair gets a bit tighter, there'll probably be a bit of shadow coming from the back, a bit of shadow there. A bit of shadow around the side there as well. A bit of shadow here. As you see, that hair goes over that one. That means it'll be casting a shadow on the bit behind it. Generally at the roots it's always a little bit darker. Just keep going to add all your bits in. Okay. And back in with the orange again. Basically, I've used each of my shades other than my walnut. Okay, this isn't from a very great video angle now, but that's because I've had to resort to my phone. But basically, I've added all the colours in the order that's shown you the first time round, and laid them up, covered it lightly in oatmeal. Now I've gone in and I've added the walnut to the really darker areas, and straight away, as you can see, that starts to define it. So now I'm going to just go in lightly with the other colours. Just to tone out that walnut a little bit, and to give it that proper Auburn look. And I'm really lightly flicking. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on each nib. I'm not, you know, not really sort of pushing the ink out. I'm flicking it so it stays in thin lines, flicking it so it's more likely to blend the colour than sort of hash it in together. Just every now and then, like if you're colouring, for example with that bit there, if you're colouring and you've got a lot of empty space, some people like a massive highlight, but I like a little bit of highlight. So if I've got a massive space, I will go over the two bits that are either side of the darker colour, and then I might just put a light flick in the middle of the lighter colour. Does it matter that it didn't go over them bits? No, it doesn't, because all it does is give you a different colour orange again to mix in with the hair. Because don't forget, when you look at someone's hair, it's not just brown or just blonde. It's generally got a mixture of so many colours in it, you can't distinguish them all. So the more little random odd bits you've got in yours will just add more texture and dimension to it. And when you add the oatmeal right at the end, which I won't do this time around because I don't want to muddy it, but when you add the oatmeal, you are just adding such a light touch of it. And you're just really lightly touching it on the page. It's just to fill in some of the white areas rather than actually blend it, because don't forget with hair you don't want to blend it right in, because when you leave some of the lines are what create the texture. So you want to leave some of the lines in her hair. Okay. Now I'm not going to use amber because I don't think I need any more light colour, and I don't think I need to come across any further, because I'm going to keep these areas as highlights now that I've got in there. But I'm going to go back in with a walnut again, because the darker your shadow areas, the lighter it makes your highlights look. At this stage, if you've got any areas that get something a bit darker than what you were expecting and you need to soften your lines, I wouldn't use the next colour down, which would be the burnt orange, because then you're still adding a darker colour back into it, and of course I just want the darker colour added to the shaded areas. So if I need to blend out the end now, I would use my amber, so my second from lightest. So I now have a red hair. I've just added a bit of shading, obviously as I've been darkening it where I think the shade's got to go, and I've left the highlights, and that's basically my quick Auburn orangey hair.